Please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please observe a moment of silence. Thank you. I begin with a roll call, starting with Doug Smith.
Here.
Mike Dean. Commissioner Fullerson.
Here.
Mike Smith. I am here, so we are all present and accounted for. I don't have anyone on public comment for agenda items, so we'll move on to administrative business. Do you have anything, Mr. Lothry, today? I will do but nothing? Okay, just for the public's information, in case you did not know, September is Suicide Prevention Month. And so there's some information that I'd like to share with you. In 2020, Congress designated the new 988 dialing code to operate through the existing National Suicide Prevention Lifelines 1-800-273-8255 network over 200 locally operated and funded crisis centers across the country. On July 16, 2022, the U.S. transitioned to using the 988 dialing code, and it was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to strengthen and expand the existing lifeline. 988 is more than just an easy-to-remember number. It is a direct connection to compassionate, accessible care and support for anyone experiencing mental health-related distress, whether that's through thoughts of suicide, mental health, or substance abuse or use crisis, or any other kind of emotional distress. People can also dial 988 if they are worried about a loved one who may need crisis support. The 988 dialing code is just a first step towards strengthening and transforming crisis care in this country. It serves as a universal early point so that no matter where you live, you can reach a trained crisis counselor who can help. If you need additional information about the Lifeline, visit the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration webpage, and they can give you additional information, or you can reach out to the Kansas Department of Health and Environment or the KDADs for that information as well. And just for people who don't know, our local provider for anybody that's using that, accessing that number in Leavenworth County, the people who answer the phones are in Lawrence, Kansas. Thank you.
And next week we'll be recognizing the Senator Roger Marshall sent a deal about farmers and ranchers, mental health awareness, and it's part of, I believe, funding. It was part of the 2018 Farm Bill. So
Thank you.
we'll have 2 weeks in a row. I think this board has done a lot of improvement on supporting mental health.
Absolutely.
Yes, and it's much appreciated by the community, I will assure you.
Good investment.
Okay. Anything from you, Commissioner Stevens?
A couple things. I know Mr. Knoll is here. I just wanted, and maybe we could get this a little later or now, either way, but an update on 222nd Street progress in the discussions with Tonganoxie and the discussions between the county and Tonganoxie. I know there's a deadline coming up on applying for the grant, and I just wanted to have an update on that.
We can probably
Do it in the work session.
do that now.
Yeah,
Okay.
I know we've reached out to them. I've shared that information with you previously. As far as I know, I don't think we've heard any change. But Bill?
No, I don't have any update from our previous discussions about that roadway. The grant application is due by next Thursday for the Kansas Cost Share Program. To date, I don't believe two of the significant questions have been answered of who would be responsible for the construction and who would own the roadway after the construction of the project. Those are the two high-level important issues that needed to be ironed out. There is an MOU in place between the county and the city at this time in order order to move that forward as part of an application process. And so currently, I have not heard back from the city as far as how they would request that we address those issues in writing.
So the two issues are who's going to take the road over and then who's going to actually construct the road.
Who's going to be the project administrator and complete the construction? Yes.
Okay, and in your conversations with Tonganoxie, have you, did they address this at all with you or no?
In my conversations with them, I informed them that those were the issues at hand and that they needed to talk to Mr. Lawfried to set a time to come to the agenda or discuss with him the importance of how those were going to be brought before the Board of County Commissioners.
Commissioners, in the past, we have very clear direction from the Board of County Commissioners that stated if that road was to be rebuilt, that it would then become the responsibility of Tonganoxie to maintain going forward. We've communicated that to Tonganoxie. As far as the construction, I think we could work something out there, but I think the biggest sticking point is probably who's responsible after the fact. But no, we have not heard anything. We've had no formal requests other than just the last conversation that Bill and I were part of.
And the next opportunity to apply for that grant is in April?
Yeah, after next Thursday would be April 2024.
So.
And if you receive that grant, we're talking 2027?
2026 maybe would be the construction. I mean, if we fast-tracked it, I don't know that you could get it out by the end of next year. It'd be very hard to get it in.
I was going to say, I don't think so.
And I don't know what utilities are out there either.
There should be a lot of them.
You would assume.
Well, I just think we need to keep this on the front burner and keep pushing.
I think Tonganoxie should put it on the front burner.
Oh, I agree with that.
Worse than we do.
We don't have control over Tonganoxie.
I think it's always been.
We can take the road back to gravel as far as I'm concerned.
It's been
Well,
it's been the practice of this board to.
None of us want that.
What I can say is that once it's up and running, I know we did that way in Lansing, that entity takes over that road, and I think that's something that Tonganoxie should step up to the plate on.
And I agree, and I think that's what we've done with every road, isn't it? Every road that this type of thing has happened, the city's taken the responsibility for it.
Yes, that I'm aware of.
I do think the fact that this is the largest industrial development that we've had in the county in the last 30 or 40 years, and the amount of investment and the number of businesses coming in, I think it's my opinion, as one commissioner, I don't want the road to deteriorate down to nothing. And I think it would be really poor representation of the county if we let that happen. So I want to keep pushing for this. And if we could get the grant, if the state would come in, we're only talking, the money part is not a significant thing between the parties. It's these other things that we need to get resolved.
I know, but if we can't get the grant, then there's
that's
way
different.
that we can do it because it's not like we're getting any taxes off of these two businesses that are going in there.
But we're not going to get the grant if we don't apply, and that's the problem. And now the parties apparently are not at the point where we can move ahead, and that's too bad.
It is. We can't fix it. I mean, we don't. It's not in our CIP. I mean, it's just going to have to deteriorate.
Well, hopefully we can continue the discussion.
Right.
Second, I want a totally different subject. I reviewed
Thank you, Bill.
the tape, the meeting last week, what was said, the questions and answers, and my understanding is that we were told by ICE, the county, told by ICE that immigrants who proposed to be released or had to be released under a court order would be returned to the location where they were detained. And that was ICE's first outline that I understand that was communicated to you, unless they were detained locally. Can you verify that?
So I believe you're referencing when they had discussed with us the safe release program. Is that
You're right. They quoted the Safe Release Act, which we're having trouble finding out what that is.
so, Commissioner? I did find the Safe Release program, and I have talked with ICE about this. And as you're aware, we have received language that they have agreed to include in any kind of an agreement that they send forward, which discusses release. But yes, the Safe Release discusses that where somebody is detained, they'll be released. However, that only applies to people who are have a mental diagnosis, mental illness of some type that they've been diagnosed with. And having a chance to discuss it further with ICE, the reason that applies to those folks is that the other people, you're talking about release, they are competent, they are deemed competent to travel on their own so that they can take them to a transportation hub, whereas people who have a mental health diagnosis, they deem that they need assistance, so they transport them back to where they were detained. But yeah, I believe that was a miscommunication on ICE's part, and we clarified it, and we received the language that I shared with all of you about none of the detainees would be released in Leavenworth County, but they could be released at the local transportation hub, which would be the airport or I believe the Greyhound terminal in Kansas City.
So when I was first given the information about this, and I was, briefed with you, it very much sounded like, and even it was discussed, that if someone was detained in Atlanta and they were here and then they were released for some reason, if there was a court order or if they had to be released, that they would be sent back to Atlanta. So apparently that's not the case. Under the language they're proposing for the agreement, they're saying that they will not release them in Leavenworth County, but they could release them in the Kansas City metro area, which would be the bus station or the MCI, the airport, or the ICE facility in Kansas City.
Yes, I think that's what I just said, yes.
Yeah, so there's a discrepancy there from what I had understood to begin with.
I agree totally. I think that is what was relayed to us initially, but that is not. Again, it applies to folks who have a mental health diagnosis. That's what I was able to find, and I did talk to ICE about that, and they clarified, which is why we have the language that I presented.
That's all.
Okay, thank you. All right. Commissioner Culberson, do you have anything?
Nope.
No.
Anything else from you, then?
Just wanted to make sure we stay on top of the legislation that Representative Johnson, with our comments and changes.
Yeah.
Keep that on the front burner.
Note on that, are we going to have a work session down the road here before the legislative session to talk about our agenda and then have a meeting with the
I believe
legislators?
That's something that we had
We always do.
directed.
We should get
and
that
had-
probably scheduled.
Yeah, we should. We should, Mike.
Yes, in answer to your
When they
question.
do the breakfast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, if we don't have anything administratively, then I will entertain a motion for the consent agenda.
Madam Chair, I move that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion is second. Begin voting with Commissioner Smith.
Aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. Okay. Now, let's see. Okay, formal board action. We need to consider a motion to approve the Community Corrections fiscal year 24 adult carryover reimbursement budget. Miss Jamie,
Morning, Jamie.
on you.
Good morning. This morning we are requesting for the Commission to approve our Community Corrections FY24 adult carryover reimbursement budget. At the end of each year, the Department of Corrections wants us to report our carryover reimbursement budgets. Again, this is kind of our what we get back from things that we purchase, like drug testing costs, supervision fees, and whatnot. And currently, for our adult budget, it's $28,399.15 for this year. And As you can see, a majority of that is we're saving for a rainy day for payout for anticipated staff leave in the future.
Any questions?
Motion?
I'm ready for a motion if there are no
I
questions.
move, Madam Chair, I move that we approve Community Corrections 2024 adult carryover reimbursement budget.
Second.
Motion and a second. Begin voting with Commissioner Smith.
Aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. Okay, now we need to consider a motion to approve the Community Corrections Fiscal Year 24 juvenile carryover reimbursement budget.
Yes, so again, this is standard. This is our juvenile amount for FY24, which is $4,947.54. It's significantly lower as juveniles are minors. We place an emphasis on education instead of working, and oftentimes that would place a burden on the family to charge them for drug tests and whatnot. So the reimbursements that we do get are significantly lower.
Questions?
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the Community Corrections 2024 juvenile carryover reimbursement budget.
Second.
Motion and second. Begin voting with Commissioner Smith.
Aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. Okay, now we are down to considering a motion to approve Resolution 2023-24, establishing a Leavenworth County Juvenile Corrections Advisory Board and repealing Resolution 1999-7. Okay, who would like to begin this? We will start with
Madam Chairman, members of the Commission, over the last several months, this board, as well as the Board of County Commissioners of Atchison County, have considered the issue of the Juvenile Corrections Advisory Board formation that currently exists. In reviewing the history of it, it's my opinion that the formation was never formally followed through at the time in 1999. There were various statements of policy between the two counties. There was a resolution that Commissioner Collins just referenced, adopted. But as far as following the statutory creation of a joint Juvenile Corrections Advisory Board, I don't believe it was ever accomplished. We do have a JCAB board, and that's how it's referred to, its acronym, that currently exists. In fact, there's an intended meeting subsequent to this meeting. But the real crux of the issue is this. Does Leavenworth County wish to continue to operate in conjunction cooperatively with Atchison County on this issue? It does not appear that Atchison County has expressed a willing or a wish to do so. This board has expressly stated it does not wish to do so. So this proposed resolution would formally repeal all prior actions and would create a separate Leavenworth County Juvenile Corrections Advisory Board. It sets out the procedure for doing so. It sets out the membership requirements, which follow statute, and would allow these programs to move forward.
I got one question for you, if I could ask.
Yes, sir.
Madam Chair, reference Atchison, have we had conversation with them? I know we've made the decision. Have we made conversation? And as you're repeating that to me, Councilor, that's what they indicated? I'm sorry.
Commissioners, if you recall, last year we invited the Atchison County Commission for a joint meeting here to discuss this very item, which they politely refused to take, and then they, I believe, shared some other communications after that I shared with you. We watched the meetings where they discussed this locally, and I think maybe, Commissioner, you maybe even had a conversation with their chair at that time about the JCAP.
Yes, I did, last spring.
I think what was determined by the Board of County Commissioners then was that a Leavenworth County Juvenile Community Corrections Advisory Board was more appropriate than the joint one. We already do that for the adult side and have for numerous years. I don't even know how long ago that started, but it's very successful. And I think that from the commission anyways, the way I understood it, that we felt that our need was significantly different than that of Atchison County at the time. So that's why we've chosen this path. We've had multiple work sessions, including one just a week ago. And so this is where we are. This is the direction of the commission, and I believe that we've done what intended to do by the direction given by the
Thank you, Mark.
Are there any other?
I just had one. So if we repeal this today, then 99-7, and we have a meeting coming up, how does that work? We have a JCAB meeting coming up.
Commissioners, I believe, and I have talked to legal counsel on this, I believe that actually, I don't remember the month, but you've already previously made a motion and decided to withdraw from that committee. I don't know, after today, when you adopt a new resolution, there's clearly a new JCAB that is Leavenworth County. I'm not sure what they would discuss.
Okay. All right.
Anything, Jeff?
Nope.
Mike?
Not have anything else?
Okay, well, I will say that I'm very sad that this is where we are, because I was there at the very beginning of the JCAB formation, and I'm still not pleased that this is what the end result is, but, I think that the efforts have been made and the Board of County Commissioners have reached out, and so.
We tried.
Madam Chair, members of the Commission, I'd like to point out the adoption of this resolution and the formation of a separate JCAB committee for Leavenworth County, a separate JCAB committee for Atchison County, does not foreclose cooperative efforts between the two counties with respect to providing services to juveniles as needed. It's simply, I think, I would view it as a reformation of the structure, but the primary goal, which is to provide services to juveniles, remains the same. I believe this commission is committed to that. I believe the Atchison County Commission is committed to that. And those goals can still be achieved through cooperative efforts. This does not foreclose those efforts.
It all comes down to making sure the juveniles are served,
Exactly.
and they have been in the past by the two counties, and that was my concern, because that's who we need to be thinking about. So thank you, David.
And that's exactly correct. Our focus must be remaining on the juveniles, and if there is negative consequences for this, then as a board, we have to be willing to address and deal with any negative consequences that might occur.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, I'll support that.
Okay.
'Cause I think it's very important.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the age where you can makes a lot of changes.
Yeah.
In a person's life.
I think that I've made very clear, I like collaboration, so that's just.
Okay.
But, okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I've been making a lot of them.
Move that we approve Resolution 2023-24, establishing a Leavenworth County Juvenile Corrections Advisory Board and repealing Resolution 1999-7.
Second.
Motion is second. And begin voting with Commissioner Doug Smith.
Aye.
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 No. Thank you, gentlemen. Next, we need to consider a motion to accept the 179th Street and Stillwell Road into the county road system. Welcome back, Bill.
All right. Commissioners, today for your consideration is a continuation of the discussion that was previously held, I believe, 2 weeks ago regarding 179th and Stillwell Road. The county entered into an agreement with Baser School District, Baser Linwood, and to make improvements to Stillwell Road and construct a new 179th Street. The Board of County Commissioners discussed the lack of complete roadway construction engineering and testing in accordance with county policy to follow KDOT testing frequencies and specifications. The contractor had offered a 2-year maintenance bond in lieu of the 1-year maintenance bond that's required for the acceptance of a county roadway. The Board of County Commissioners, as you guys remember, directed staff to reach out to Olson to do a final review of the roadway to see if there were any corrective actions or testing that could be completed to retroactively verify some of the deficiencies that were within the testing. Olson's report, which is included in your packet, indicated that Without additional documentation during discussion, it was their opinion that resolving these discrepancies through supplementary testing is not a viable option. This is due to several reasons, most notably the time frame that has elapsed since the initial construction, being more than 1 year. The condition of the pavement and the pavement subgrade would not be comparable to the condition directly after construction. And secondary to that, the type of testing that would need to be completed would be very intrusive and would likely cause extensive damage to the roadway to be able to test the base. There was not, in their opinion, because I reached back out to them after the report, any type of secondary action that could be done as a bridging technique or an overlay that would guarantee that the design life of the roadway would be met, that would offset the additional lack of testing. The board has several options, but not limited to the following, and may decide to accept or extend a maintenance bond for a longer period of time, separate 179th and Stillwell into two different road categories, and accept an extended maintenance bond on one and not the other, which would effectively create 179th as a private roadway. That way, in the future, any additional construction that would come off of it for a subdivision, as was discussed last time, would be a cross-access easement and not a county road. Or they could require the road to be rebuilt, as it is lacking testing. That would be the final option is available. The school district is here with representatives from the contractor, and they would like an opportunity to discuss this with the Board of County Commissioners. If you have any questions for me or them, I think they're in the back, and they'd be willing to come up here. And
I think we got our questions answered, and from Olson, and I want to thank you for getting such a quick response, because my concern is we were going to get into the snow season here. So I'm satisfied.
Questions, gentlemen?
So our decision on the resolution, how this is going to be resolved, that's the key.
that is the key, yes. So you're going to accept a extended maintenance bond for the roadway, or are we going to not accept that and creating effectively at least one of the two roads that's not currently a through road as a private roadway? Going to take some other corrective action. That there are a multitude of possibilities that we could take in order to.
I don't see any correspondence from the school district. What's their position?
They're here, so
Well, I mean verbally, but I don't see anything in writing. But yeah, what is their position? Or maybe they want to tell us.
I think they want to tell you.
Okay, Mr. Chairman.
Please, come forward.
Good morning, Doug Towers, Superintendent of Schools, based in Linwood. Working with McAllen Gordon, I think our response to that would be that we're more than pleased to offer that 2-year extended maintenance bond on the road. The road is about 1.5 years old now, so that would get us to the 3.5-year mark. And as we continue using that road, we've rolled buses over that each day. We have car rider pickup each day, approximately about 100 cars a day coming in and out. And so we're more than happy to continue to monitor the road, offer that 2-year maintenance bond, and if there become issues with the road, then address it with you at that time.
And Mr. Knoll, what are the issues with that?
You're asking me.
What are the issues with that if we agreed to that?
Really, the only issue with that is that a maintenance bond period, be it this project or any other project, is for a fairly short duration of time. If your road is designed to meet a 20-year life and you had some base issues with the roadway, that roadway may only meet a 15-year lifespan. Well, that's obviously outside of any maintenance bond period that you're going to see. So while maintenance bonds are a good thing in that they offer some guarantee of initial settling of the roadway or separating of storm pipes or initial installation issues, as far as long-term viability of a road, the maintenance bond doesn't really protect against that. So if your road is only going to last 15 years instead of 20, really the only issue here is whether or not the road is going to last for the design length of time. And that's an unknown variable that only the future will tell.
And how would we handle this? I mean, we're dealing with the school district. Typically, how do you handle this with other developers, contractors? How is this typically handled?
Well, I'd say every situation is on a case-by-case basis, depending on the type of issues that we are having. I know in the past there has been several different projects that have had some deficiencies, but those deficiencies have all been different, and so they've all been handled a little bit differently, whether it's extended maintenance bonds, post-construction applications of materials, or removal and correction of some other asphalt surfaces. So it depends on what the type of deficiency is, and where it's a lack of testing. That this is a different situation than some of the others we've seen in the past. But every situation is a little bit different in how we've gotten to this point and who administered the project and what the deficiency of the roadway is.
I know we had a developer that we required to do a slurry seal on their road.
That was a different deficiency. They had correct testing on that roadway. There was some segregation of the top material on both of those two residential subdivisions where the was either porous or it was just raveling, and it was during inspection of that roadway it was found that there are a multitude of possibilities of why there was some surface raveling or porousness. It could be put down on too cold of a day, could have had that oil burned out of it and gotten too hot, could have just not been compacted correctly. So there could be material issues or other issues, but it wasn't testing.
Right.
Do you have staff recommendation on these? You've given us these options. Do you have a recommendation that you want us to look at among the options?
Among the options, I would say that it would be the Board of County Commissioners' direction that I would follow ultimately on what it is. I know that in discussions with McCown-Gordon yesterday, they were open to extending that 2-year maintenance bond to a longer period of time if the Board of County Commissioners requested it, up to an additional year or two on top of the 2-year. That'd be my recommendation that you at least consider that as a possibility if you're going to accept the roadway, to ask for as long of of maintenance bond period as possible.
I think that to get for their offer to give that type of extension on the bond is a gift. I mean, that's for any road. I can say that when we're talking 15, 20 years down the road, any road that has been put in, there can be potential things that have never been looked at, considered, or occurred, and a road can begin to fail before its 20-year thing. And so if we can get additional time on that maintenance bond, I would say that we would be remiss in not accepting that and moving forward with accepting the road. That's just my personal opinion, and that's.
Well, I agree because.
And I have had some conversations, I will admit, with family members who. That's a wow. I mean, if McCown-Gordon is willing to do this, I would say that we would. We couldn't get a better offer than that. Period.
I agree because you don't build a school unless houses all get built around it, and that'll be concrete trucks, that'll be heavy equipment coming through, lumber deliveries. It's going to be more than just school buses.
So did you say that as far as what you were talking about as a recommendation, right here is a 2-year, did you say they could go out as far as 4 years?
Well, they are here to answer that question, but I don't know if they were referring to yet. The answer to that is yes. So
that's what I said. If there's a yes to that, I can't see that we could get a better deal than that on.
Okay.
Well, you don't know if you don't ask. Is that as far as you're willing to go?
Unfortunately, that's as far as we can go based on the way that the maintenance bond works from a commercial.
Correct.
I understand.
Correct.
I understand.
I can't see that we would have any issues. If
I
there are going to
can't
be
either.
issues with that road within that period of time, they will absolutely present themselves, in my opinion.
Well, and
So
and
that's-
to your
Mine too.
point, I think it demonstrates their confidence in the road's
Right.
construction.
Right.
I agree. Well,
So
you ready for a motion?
I'm ready for a
Madam Chair, I
motion,
move that-
but we need to include in the motion
I
the
will.
extension of the.
Could I ask one?
Oh.
Is there any more input from the staff on this?
From
Commissioners, I have to concur with this gentleman's statement. Mark and I have discussed this with Bill. A 3-year maintenance bond, or 4-year, excuse me, you can't go further out than that. I think Commissioner Cos's comments, if there are deficiencies in this road, they should present themselves by that time. After that period of time, any road can fail for any number of reasons.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay. Answer my question.
All
I'm
right,
good.
Madam Chair, I move that we accept the 179th Street and Stillwell Road into the county road system with a 4-year maintenance bond.
Second.
Motion is second. Begin voting with Commissioner Smith.
Aye.
Aye.
No.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, now we need to consider a motion to accept the roadway, excluding right-of-way vegetation and grading with Eagle Crossing subdivision, including Talon Drive, 155th Terrace, and 156th Street. Bill.
All right. Commissioners, I believe this is one of the other roadways that Commissioner Stephen was alluding to in this discussion of the previous roadway. In March of 2021, the Board of County Commissioners entered into an agreement with the contractor and developer of Eagle Crossing subdivision that allowed building permits to be pulled for the lots within the subdivision without the road being accepted into the county road system. The contractor provided a bond, a surety bond, I believe it was called, a letter of irrevocable credit, and was required to patch any deficient areas and pay for a mastic slurry seal application on the roadways. At the time, the slurry seal was bid by a couple different contractors, and they had stated that they wanted to see at least 15 of the 29, I believe, homes that are going to be within that subdivision constructed prior to the installation of that slurry seal. So that put that back approximately 12 months. The work was not completed in 2022, but subsequently, staff did review the roadway. It had some areas of failure that were cut and dug out and backfilled and tested and corrected, and the slurry seal was applied to the roadway. Today, for your consideration, is in accordance with your agreement accepting the roadway portion of the subdivision. The right-of-way vegetation has not been accepted. We recently reviewed that at the Bonet Construction's request. They had placed a cash bond for the seeding of the roadway down at the time that building permits were going to be pulled for $11,250. The site has seen extensive erosion and does not have a lot of grass growth in some areas. It has not gotten the 70% density throughout the right-of-way that is required to close the SWIP. And so we would only be accepting the physical roadway itself, the road bed, and the right-of-way and vegetation outside that is still a separate issue that is with a separate contractor and developer than this roadway agreement that you guys entered into.
Questions?
Commissioners, I might add that this is one of the projects that we changed afterwards. We changed our processes that now we require inspections throughout the construction process because of issues like this that came up. So, but we do believe that the contractor in this case has met what we requested.
There's no additional questions. I will entertain a motion.
I move that we accept Eagle Crossing subdivision streets, including Talon Drive, 155th Terrace, and 156th Street.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion is second. Begin voting with Commissioner Doug Smith.
Aye.
Aye.
No.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. But we are going to have address the deficiencies in the SWIP
In the vegetation?
In the vegetation and all of those
Yes, we
things.
will be addressing that with the contractor. It's going to require grading
Right.
and reseeding in order to get that. The ditches are washed out and they're reeling along the embankments.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. I went and looked. It's
not in a condition that I would ever consider accepting it.
Thank you. Okay, moving on. We need to consider a motion to accept the bid by King's Construction for cleanup, dirt work, and seeding on 158th Street.
As previously discussed with the Board of County Commissioners, the SWIP has not been closed on 158th Street. We are still doing bi-weekly inspections of the roadway. The contractor has elected not to complete that portion of the project or is in a disagreement with the county's position on that. This project included seeding. It included black dirt being brought in to fill in the washouts and the bare spots. It included Harley raking of the site to break up the crust over the top of the clay. And so 80 to 85% of the cost of this proposal is within the erosion repair and final grading of the areas, to bring in the dirt, to fill in all the washouts, and to cover up some of the bare areas that are hard-packed clay that will not grow grass without breaking them up and putting some dirt over the top of them, was $76,800. We did meet with several contractors on site who agreed with the county's position regarding the need to complete the work, but we did only receive the one bid. I think that, one, it was a short notice bid because we are trying to fit it in during this seeding window, and two, I don't think a lot of contractors want to come in after another contractor. That was stated to us several times when we reached out to multiple seeding companies who had done subcontractor work for contractors on bridges and roads for us in the past. They weren't interested in even looking at the project. So the bid for the project totaled $97,401. The retainage being held on the original project contract is $94,709. So it is very close to the retainage amount being held.
We can't submit a change order.
No.
Any other questions for Bill?
It is what it is.
So the retainage, and this might be a legal question, I don't know, the retainage, so are we in good standing to be keeping the retainage for this purpose, or is that subject to litigation?
Commissioners, the magic word is litigation. There is currently litigation filed in Leavenworth County District Court by the contractor regarding their claim for the retainage. Leavenworth County has answered denying their claim, as well as asserting a counterclaim for any additional damages in excess of the retainage, as well as liquidated damages that were provided for in the contract. The retainage is approximately, rough figures, $95,000. King Construction's bid of roughly $97,000 is obviously less than $95,000. So there will be a deficiency, and Leavenworth County has filed the appropriate legal proceedings to recoup those funds from the contractor.
You know, it's a little disturbing this last year that we've had so many contractors that aren't following the agreement that the county commissioners and the staff have set in place.
And Commissioner Smith, on that note, Ms. Brown and I are looking at preparing for your consideration a policy from the Commission regarding consideration of contractors. Kansas state law requires you to accept the lowest and best bid. Lowest and best bid. And that the best part needs to be considered in the future.
I agree.
And I think that we can, when there's been non-performance or issues of like this and a record of that, I think that's something that we should be able to consider when making those decisions.
I don't know why a contractor would want to get that reputation. I just don't. Maybe the world's changing. I'm from my days out in Lansing as a manager. I don't know. Anyway, my 2 cents.
Ready for a motion?
I'm ready for a motion.
All right. Madam Chair, I move that we accept the bid by King's Construction for cleanup and dirt work and reseeding of 158th Street.
Second.
Motion and a second. Begin voting with Doug Smith.
Aye.
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 Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Bill.
Thanks, Bill.
All these things are in my area we just talked about. I got a problem area.
We expect you to fix that, Commissioner.
Okay, well, before we go on to our presentations, I'm going to move up the agenda up to public comment. And we have Dennis Higgins, who would like to make public comment on a non-agenda item. Sir, come on up.
Welcome.
I've been here before. You probably remember me. I know he knows me. But the same thing is the same thing is the same thing. It's been this way for 32 years that I know of. That road has not changed other than to get narrower down on my end of the road. I've got a few pictures here. If you guys want to glance through them, you can throw them away. But I'll leave. There's all kinds of stuff to trip over. There's some notes on some of them, not on the others.
What road is
We've all
this
been
again?
on county roads before, I know, but this is it's dangerous out there. They're putting that AB3 rock on whenever they put any on, which is real rare. And you must stop because the cars make so much dust, you can't see if there's another car coming or not. They don't do anything. We haven't had a grader on our road, I don't believe, this year, since the first of the year. I've lived out there 32 years, and it was a cow path when I drove it up and bought the land, built the home. I knew it wasn't going to anything right away going to happen with that road, but you would think that in that amount of time, there's 28 families live back on that area right now. It's a small area. It's road off of Santa Fe Trail. It's just a little L that goes to Millwood Road that goes to 195th and 195th dead ends. My road dead ends on 199th. It was on the south side of Santa Fe Trail. There's about a half-mile piece of it over there. But there's a lot of people have moved in. There's some beautiful homes back in there now. I don't know if any of you folks know Turner, Ray Turner. I know Jeff knows him. His place is up for sale. I talked to him not too long ago, and I said, "What are you doing? You got a beautiful home back there." Yeah, he said, "I'd do it, but I can't live there anymore." He said, "I've had the course with this dust. It gets into everything we own. It's in the house. You can't keep anything clean. Y'all with these dark pants on, you wouldn't want to wear them and get out of your truck and walk around because when you get back in there, you got dirt or mud or dust on the back of your clothes where you hit on the running board of your car, brushed it. It gets all over everything. I had a recent bumper injury on my car. I took it to Zech to fix it, and they called me a day or so later, said come out and see if the paint matches. When I walked in, there was looked like my bumper sitting over there, but there's another bumper, skin. And the youngster said, "Well, this is the color, but it doesn't match this." I can't. It's 20 years old. All of my vehicles are 20 years old or more. But I look over there, so what's that? And he said, "Well, go over there and touch it." I went over there and just touched it, and it just fell apart. It was dust that was caked to the inside of my bumper. The centrifugal force of that stuff going around, you can't hardly keep your tires balanced. But if I take my car, it's sitting out here in the parking lot right now, it's a 20-year-old car, to the car wash and wash it, the gaps in the wheel for ventilation and save money, make them look better, that will get up to 3/8 to a ½ inch along the inside of that wheel. And when the water pressure hits it, it washes out some of it, not the rest. I start down the highway, my car's going like this because it's out of balance. When I get home, I got to get out there with a hose and wash that stuff out because you can't scrape it off with a putty knife because of the centrifugal force. Now, there's not a whole lot of road there, but we didn't. I pay $4,000 a year income property tax. I know that's not a great deal. Some of you folks got a lot more than that probably, but I get nothing for that. I mean nothing. They can't even put rock on there once in a while. They can't even get the grader up there. When it rains, you got ditches going down the sides of the road. And the only thing that saves it is there's enough traffic out there now that it kind of mashes it off. I had the Free State come out there. They've got, all y'all got easements. You got easements for the road. We got, Free State's got an easement in there for electricity that I gave them. Made $1 off of that deal. They come in there and sprayed all the locust trees. They killed all them. The stuff this high and that high. I don't know what you're going to do with it now because you can't. It's so full of those things. You can't get in there and cut it. There's a fence in there, but nobody else even came out. They don't care. If you look at some of those pictures, you'll see my car in there in one of those. It's not room enough for 2 cars. If somebody comes, you got to find a driveway to get into so that car can go by and you can go by. And there's a lot more traffic on there than what there has been in the past because we've got people who have built homes in there that are, boy, some of those, I didn't realize there were so many really nice ones back there off 195th. Something needs to be done of it. They chipped and sealed all this hard surface roads out there just about right now. And most of them didn't need it. I'm on that road in and forth from town every day, either on 7 Highway or Santa Fe Trail. They're redoing those things. They're doing Millwood Road all the way out, chipped and sealing it. They did Round Prairie. They're not 10 people in a week use that road, but it's a nicer road. And there was nothing wrong with it. They could have used that money to fix those few roads, chipped and sealed those, and they would have got a lot more bang for the buck out of the deal. There's not that many people back there. But there's nothing happens with it. Probably nothing will happen again.
Thank you, Mr. Higgins, and we will.
Okay, appreciate your time.
We appreciate
Thank
your
you, sir.
time,
Thanks, Dennis.
the comment. Thank you. Okay, let's see. We've got presentations and discussion. Commissioner Smith.
Just got Basehor City Council tonight, and I'm going to go to the LCDC tomorrow in Basehor. That's it.
Commissioner Stephen, do you have anything?
We had a property tax task force meeting at the library in Tonganoxie. Discussed constitutional amendment, OEVTR, all the property tax related issues. It's pretty interesting. Jeff was there, and it was it was a standing room only crowd, and people are still animated about the issues around taxes.
Animated. That's a good word.
Do they
Not
go
the
to
word I would
school board
use.
meetings?
Well, some people did. Susan went to the
Make it more colorful.
meeting.
All right.
September 27th, we're going to be going back to the KAC talking about the constitutional amendment again. So,
Legislative Committee.
Right.
Oh, and that reminded me that Saturday, Senator Tyson will be in Basehor at 10 o'clock at the library. Is it 10, 10:30?
10, I think.
and Saturday is Tonganoxie Days.
Yes, it is.
So come on down.
Only thing I was going to bring up was Leavenworth City Hall meeting last night. They announced that they remained revenue neutral for this year, but along with that came a caveat that next year there are going to be some strategic cuts.
Decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Lansing's revenue neutral also, I believe. Today I have lunch with Representative Bueller. I'll be discussing the items that we've all found important, the last year, which everybody's found important. Then next Thursday I'll be speaking to the Lansing City Council on our LVTR and other items that the council's been discussing, just to keep it out in front of people. That's all we're trying to do. That's all I have, madam.
Thank you. And I'm going to be participating in a day-long strategic planning event for the Kansas City Area Transit Authority all day Saturday, so my weekend's done.
Oh, it's a Saturday meeting?
It's a Saturday meeting
boy.
because that's the only time they could get all of the board members to give that amount of time in order to meet. So
Lucky you.
that's,
Good thing it's a part-time job, then, isn't it?
yeah, it is, isn't it? Okay, well, if we don't have anything additional, I will entertain a motion.
I just have a question for Mr. Lawfrey. When do you anticipate us receiving the agreement and moving forward with the consideration of that?
Commissioner, I'm in contact with CoreCivic pretty much daily, and when I spoke to them yesterday, they did not believe they would have something ready for us by the end of this week, which then would push it off to the 27th before it would be before this board. There's potential that it could still come in tomorrow and it would be on next week, but when I talked with them yesterday, they did not think they would have it ready. They're still working out details with ICE, so they didn't think they'd have anything ready for us in time. That could change, but that was my conversation yesterday.
And does that put us up against a hard deadline?
Well, I don't think it changes our deadline at all. The end of the month was always our deadline on this, so it might give you. Obviously, it gives you a little less time if you wanted to table it or something like that. That would be problematic.
So, all right, thank you. That's it.
I think, like I said, time's not on their side. They're going to get the information to us. They need to be getting it to us absolutely quickly. This is. We just need to get
this week. If it's not this week, it has to be next week, or it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Their deadline is.
I know.
Their deadline. That's the more. I think it has to be done by the October 1st.
Okay. Thank you, Mark. Thank you.
Thank you. And so, with that, do we have a motion to adjourn, or did we?
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Begin voting.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.